So hello to everyone, and welcome to the first webinar in SEtalks, which is called Why Social Entrepreneurship. And thank you very much for joining us today. And we are very much looking forward to speak about this topic with our great guests. So for the beginning, my name is Snežana Andrić, and I would like to greet you on behalf of Young Ambassadors from Niš in Serbia. And for the ones who haven't heard about us, we are a youth organization working on developing the capacity of young people and encouraging them to make a positive change in their community. So our main focus are creative industries and entrepreneurship, which is having impact on society. So our organization is, together with the two more organizations from our speakers today, is a member of the SS network, the widest European network specialized in supporting social economy. And we are very happy to have the possibility to speak about this really important topic today. Besides this, as I'm the alumni of the Swedish Institute Program Summer Academy for Young Professionals, as well as my colleague Stefan from North Macedonia, we have received the support for this project, SEtalks. Support was given by the Lund University, where we have attended the course, but also by the Swedish Institute in Stockholm. So now I would like to give this Zoom floor to my colleague Stefan from Social Entrepreneurship Observatory from North Macedonia to say a little bit more about his organization and our joint project.
Thank you, Snežana. As Snežana said, already introduced me. I'm Stefan Ščevaliev, Executive Director of the Social Entrepreneurship Observatory. We are a CSO based in Skopje. We are a resource center, a platform for collaboration and partnership for development of social entrepreneurship in Southeast Europe. We have partners all over Southeast Europe, of course, and Sweden and Denmark. We are already expanding our network to become in future regional network. Basically, we have three pillars of work for those of us who haven't heard of us. The first is mentoring and coaching and technical expertise for social enterprises and entrepreneurs. The second is research and advocacy focused on developing the social entrepreneurship ecosystem. And third is consulting. So various projects and contracts depending on request. We have recently opened a Social Entrepreneurship Academy, which have 4 courses, and we are still waiting for the first cohort, and we'll see how that goes. I think that that's enough introduction about the organization, given the time that we have. I would like to describe the project and what is our mission, basically, and what we want to achieve with this project. So the SEtalks is, or Let's Talk Social Entrepreneurship, aims to bring closer the social entrepreneurship field to new and upcoming entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, of course, innovators, and general public. The main objective is to raise awareness about social entrepreneurship, to share its impacts and motivate young people basically to get involved in businesses with social value while produce social impact. Our activities are focused on recognizing the impact of social enterprises, entrepreneurs, to disseminate information of social enterprises and social entrepreneurs, and to develop the ecosystem and to make visibility, to increase visibility of social entrepreneurs and social enterprises. And of course, our mission is to basically start a tradition of these social entrepreneurship webinars that will contribute to transitioning the business models from economic outcome to achieving social change as the main objective. For more information, I would not take too much time about the project. For more information, you can visit setalks.org, or you can follow us on social media. Of course, also participate on our, every Thursday, we will have a webinar on social entrepreneurship. Snežana? Thanks.
Thank you very much for the presentation of the project. And for this first webinar, we really have a pleasure to have today with us 4 amazing women who are from the 3 countries in the Western Balkan region. So today with us, we have Dina Rakin, Director of Coalition for Solidarity Economic Development from Serbia. So hello, Dina, and welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Irina Janevska, President of ARNO from North Macedonia. Ivana Stančić, Social Innovation Project Manager at Smart Collective from Serbia, and Anita Šimunđa, Coordinator at SDP Globus from Bosnia and Herzegovina. So hello and welcome to the first webinar.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you very much, and for being with us today, but also for your will to share your knowledge and expertise. And before we start, I would like to invite everyone to write questions in the chat for our speakers during the whole webinar. So any time when you have the question for some of our speakers, please write in chat and they will try to answer all your questions. And since we have in audience people from the whole region, but also beyond, I would ask you for the beginning to present yourselves and give us a little insight about the work that your organization is doing in the field of social entrepreneurship. So maybe Dina, we can start with you.
Sure. Thanks, Snežana. Thanks for the invitation, and thanks for the opportunity to speak about this topic that we all here find really important and amusing and interesting. I'm Dina. I'm coming from Coalition for Solidarity Economy Development. We were formed in a way 10 years ago. But formally, we exist for 1 year. We worked as a non-formal network of 4 organizations. Ivana here is from Smart Collective. It is one of the founding members of the coalition. And we have 3 more, Track Foundation, European Movement in Serbia, and Initiative for Development and Cooperation. We were established with the idea to join our resources in order to promote actually the emerging concept that we recognized at that time. It was social entrepreneurship. We thought it was something really new, really important, that really develops communities, but at that time it was still not that much known. And from that period till now, Coalition actually became, I'd say, like advocacy organization that mainly focuses on creating ecosystem, contributing to creating more enabling ecosystem for social entrepreneurship development. We are more focused on policy, on regulatory framework, but we also do promotion. And we actually have intention to support and network with supporting organizations in the field. So that might be something for the beginning and for the introduction.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dina. So maybe we can now go to North Macedonia. So Irina, can you present us your organization and your work?
Sure. Thank you, Snežana. Thank you, Stefan, for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be among stakeholders from the region and to speak on the topic. About Arno. Arno is an organization for social innovation established 2013 in Skopje. What we can say? We can say that it is in our core mission to promote social entrepreneurship, but also we also like to practice it. Back in 2015, we organized the first cooking classes in our country. We did some profits and we reinvested them in the young chefs from the gastronomy school. And since then, we also not only promote the concept, but we give people opportunity to establish social and green businesses. We are part of this regional network that is organizing the Green Ideas. And each year we select 3 winners that further compete at the regional event. Mainly the same stakeholders repeat from the region. So Track Foundation is the one that is doing, that is implementing this Green Ideas competition in Serbia. But with Ivana and with Smart Collective, we were just joking at the beginning that we see each other very often. It's due to our involvement as local incubators in the RISE project, which is a regional incubator for social entrepreneurs. So Arno is really trying to focus in 3 main areas by promoting, practicing, and giving people opportunities to build social enterprises. For us, what we can say that social entrepreneurship we perceive as part of green economy, More precisely, we see green economies as a higher octave of social entrepreneurship. So we try to also not only put people in the center of the business model, but also environment. This is for our, just briefly for our work. And I hope that throughout the questions and the discussion, I will be able to share more insights on what we do and how we do things.
Yeah, thank you very much. Definitely, you will have enough time yet to hear about all your joint project, but as well, what are you doing in your country? So you mentioned Ivana. So Ivana is one of the 100 inspiring women in social enterprises. So Ivana, hello, welcome, and maybe we can hear you, beside of congratulating you on this important role, so to hear more about your work and the work of Smart Collective.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this invitation. It's really great to have all these people on board and all these ladies. Sorry, Stefan, but you know, ladies rules in this sector. I'm sorry. So yes, as Dina and Irena also mentioned, so together with Coalition for Development of Social Entrepreneurship, Solidarity Economy today, back in 2010, Smart Collective started also working on promotion of social entrepreneurship in Serbia. Smart Collective is an organization working for almost 20 years or so. And we, in general, work on development of impact economy, as we say it. We work on one side on development of social entrepreneurship with like small and micro enterprises and young entrepreneurs. But on the other hand, we also work with large companies on development of corporate social responsibility. When we speak about social entrepreneurship, we work with Coalition together on promotion and advocacy initiatives, which we will, I guess, speak later a bit more. But a huge amount of our work is actually in supporting directly entrepreneurs to start or grow their business and their impact through mentoring, training, and access to finance. And finally, same as Arno, we are practicing also social entrepreneurship. We are also civil society organization, which is there on the market, providing services for these large companies. But in addition to that, we have founded until now like 2 social enterprises that we are co-founders or founders. So we are also there and trying to survive on the market with this. So that's it for now, for the beginning. Yes, that's for now.
Thank you very much. And now we are going to Anita in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So hello, Anita, welcome. And
hello.
Hear more about your work and your organization.
Thank you very much for this invitation. I'm very glad to have this opportunity to listen about experience in the region and to share our experiences. CDP Globus is the first center for the development of social entrepreneurship in Bosnia and Herzegovina, established by a group of activists with long-term experience in the field of human rights, employment, support to social entrepreneurship, fostering social inclusion, and so on. The center officially started in February 2014. Our mission is to promote and to encourage the development of social entrepreneurship and activity based on solidarity in order to contribute to reduction of poverty, social exclusion, and unemployment in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So we are carriers of several very important projects that we implemented and also are now implementing, through which we contributed, first of all, to the improvement of environment for the development of social entrepreneurship, and which is the most significant part. We concretely supported the social enterprises through funds for social entrepreneurship. Our 4 strategic directions are based the most on the needs in the sector. First of all, we are focused on raising awareness about the concept of social entrepreneurship in Bosnia and Herzegovina, because the public is generally not familiar with this concept. Then to provide information and education in the field of social entrepreneurship. Also advocating for the better legislative framework in the field of social entrepreneurship, and especially for social enterprises. And 4th direction is a realization of concrete projects through which we contribute to reduction of social exclusion and unemployment. One of the most significant achievement in our work is the creation of the first coalition for the development of social entrepreneurship, which has been joined by more than 70 organizations throughout the country. We are proud to say today that we are also a part and a member of the widest European network for social economy, the ESIS, which is from Brussels, and we are also part and member of Social Entrepreneurship Observatory. So this is a very great opportunity to talk more. And for this introduction, I hope it was not too long, but if we can talk further about social entrepreneurship, it will be my pleasure to answer to your questions and to follow your discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anita. So yeah, I think that we can now start with the discussion on the several topics that I think we have them enough.
Yeah, I think that we can. And well, let's talk social entrepreneurship, right? We know that there are many definitions for social entrepreneurship. There is no universally accepted one. So the first question that I would like to ask is, well, what is social entrepreneurship for those who are listening to the term and the concept for the first time? Since Anita was the last in the previous introductions, Anita, can you start? What is social entrepreneurship for you?
Yes, of course. I think the basic thing here is to differ social entrepreneurship and also social enterprise, because it is not the same thing, first of all. When we talk about social entrepreneurship, we can find examples from the practice, but in the theory also, different kind of activities in various sectors that have some kind of social purpose. So it could be social enterprise, but it could be also like humanitarian activity or some other activity which can be identified like social entrepreneurship. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, there is a lack of understanding of this concept. It is often identified with terms like social care, poverty, and so on, while we all know it represents much broader development concept. There is also a dilemma about the concept of social entrepreneurship. Which term is adequate? Do we use social as socijalno or social as društveno, which can be treated as synonyms in our languages? So we have dilemmas, but I think in the theory and literature, we can find very good arguments to look at the social entrepreneurship like any kind of business activity in various sectors that primarily are focused on social good. But when we talk about social enterprise, this is a business entity which has similar characteristics like classic business entity, but it is different because there is a primary mission focused on social goals, and there is reinvested profit to all directed with social purpose. I think that would be the basics, some of the basics regarding the concept. If you have any other question, I will answer.
Thank you, Anita. Even the Swedes have delineation between the concepts social and societal. So they have societal entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship, and this is what you're talking about. The societal concept is a broader concept than social entrepreneurship, right? So Ivana, what is for you social entrepreneurship?
Yeah, this is like a random, I was not prepared. So when we speak about definition, we usually use the European Commission definition, but I will not really like go here with definitions. I would say that it's for me, like in ordinary language, it's like the innovative and entrepreneurial approaches to different social challenges. So what I really like that Anita mentioned is that, and what is actually usually one of the confusions is that this has to have like a business approach. It has to be sustainable and have incomes in order to be like a social enterprise. So For me, the social entrepreneurship, I like to say it's a future. For me, it's a way how all enterprises should work. The key thing is the motivation, why somebody is starting social enterprise and not a regular enterprise. And that's also one of the things which is differing it from regular businesses. The motivation itself, it's to solve some social or environmental problem and to have people and planet in its center and not only the profit. But profit has to be there. You know, usually we have social entrepreneurs coming like, we don't want to have a profit. And I'm like, no, you have to have profit, because the more profit you have, the better things you can do with it. So yes, for me, it's like very broad definition, but these elements are like motivation, strong idea about solving some social or environmental issue, then sustainable business, which is profitable and healthy business, and like that people, planet, and profit are equally important, not one or another.
Thank you, Ivana. We should not forget entrepreneurship in social entrepreneurship, right?
Exactly.
Now I'll go to Irina. Irina, for you, how would you define social entrepreneurship, or what is social entrepreneurship for you?
I will just follow up on what my colleagues here said. I will just add some values in the center of the business model. One of our projects is actually trying to explain this to the students. It's called Students Today, Responsible Entrepreneurs Tomorrow. Because what we try to teach young people, that the most common denominator for CSR, social entrepreneurship, is philanthropy, doing good for somebody, people or environment. So for me, it's an entrepreneur with values, which is not only visible in the end product, how we invest profit, but in the entire process, how we take care of people, how we take care of our employees. If we have good governance, if we are transparent in the decision making, we involve our stakeholders from the initial plan. This is how we need to reach the future.
Irina, I'm sorry, it's a bit blurry what you're talking. Can you repeat, or do you have issues with the network, I think? Yeah. Okay, when Irina comes back, she will tell us more about her opinion about this. And let's go to Dina. Dina, can you add something about social entrepreneurship and what is social entrepreneurship?
Well, I will just add, I mean, I think we all opened up this discussion about defining social entrepreneurship. I must say that I avoid these kind of discussions, whether it's social, societal, društveni, socially, and whatever it is. We have this heritage of socialism. I think we have many confusions. I would just, I think important thing that Irina said, it's regarding the process. All the levels of governance, of processing should have these values within the system. I think it's really important, and we think collective aspect of social entrepreneurship is something that should be taken into consideration. Of course, not all social enterprises do have this collective element, but I must say I'm fan of cooperatives, so we can open that floor as well. And yeah, the values, the profit as such, controlled profit, any kind of enterprise, if you ask me, that has controlled profit, that is invested in some good, should be taken into consideration as a social enterprise. But I must say, probably all my colleagues would agree, and all of you, that this not having definition also makes problem in our work, especially in advocacy. So, and even I would probably say investments as well. So the challenge in a way is for us to be as flexible and as strict to gather all the initiatives, but also to say, yeah, these are the social enterprises that we want to support, we take as a social enterprise. But they also would say that all the organizations that support social enterprise and work in this field have their own right to say these are the social enterprises for us, if the criteria and standards are satisfied. Some would go with more green, some will go more with the social, some will go with anything that they choose, but it has to be transparent to be sure when you speak about the sector and when you advocate that you know what you're talking about, because otherwise it's really fluid. So that's the problem with defining and not defining the sector.
I agree that those of us who work in the field are tired of this issue about defining social enterprises and social entrepreneurship, but slowly we are getting there. What can I say? Snezhana, can we continue with probably to turn this question to put it on the table and cover it and start with a new one, you know?
Yeah. I think that you all agree about the current situation and the topic. And yeah, as we all know, you are in your everyday job, you're working with the people, mainly the people who are driven to create some impact that will improve our lives, to improve our environment. And of course, as Ivana mentioned, there are a lot of people who are just focused on financial aspects or not to focus on financial aspects at all. But for both of them, if you need to say them, why is social entrepreneurship important? Why is it important for all of us? Why is it important for our society? And at the end, why is it important for our economy? So maybe we can start with Irina. So we hope that you can hear us good now. And yeah, great. Super.
Yeah, apologies, Ivana knows, because this happens pretty often when I have the worst Wi-Fi connection. If there is an award for the worst one, I can self-nominate. So apologies for the interruptions. Why we need social entrepreneurship? For me, it was like epiphany during pandemic to see how people respond to problems. For me, why answers one of the questions that answers this question is that it keeps people committed to the local problems. So instead of focusing on this macroeconomy, on this big consumeristic approach, it is like a bonding element between people and communities. For me, social entrepreneurship is the answer to how we can find solutions to local problems. This is the missing link in the economy. We somehow noticed that in the past decades we have been evolving in the wrong direction, and now we see that we need to come back and to make small changes if we want to have big impact, and small changes start from local communities and local impact. No matter if we speak about importing things that have environmental footprint that comes from thousands of kilometers, just because they are cheap, we order them, just because they're plastic and they're really handy to use them. Again, keeping it local, I believe that it brings power to the people and it creates a link between people and community. So one of the questions, that's why we need social entrepreneurship, to come back to our local communities, to feel the pains and to try to provide solution, to see what doesn't work for us, because global solutions, and I think that's brought us to global problems. We live in pandemic and we see how one virus does not respect borders. Everybody is affected. So we now to come back to close the borders and each of us to rethink how to fight this situation. And I think social entrepreneurship has this power to empower people to think locally, not globally, as we ambitiously with some really great, how to say, appetite, we moved in the wrong direction. So I think that we need social entrepreneurship to bring us back to where we have been. Less packaging, local uses of local resources, local people, because we created a mess in the planet. So this is my strongest answer to the why. Yeah, I'm very, like, I have this personal story. I even shared it in my Facebook status that really in the times of pandemic, I feel the even bigger need to think locally.
Well, thank you very much. I think that you should save this message to the end of the webinar. It is now hard to go forward, but yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, I think that everyone was knocking with the head. So yeah, we totally agree. So even when you are need to say someone why is important social entrepreneurship, what you are usually saying?
I usually criticize the economy as it's existing because, I mean, I completely agree with what Irina says. I don't want to repeat on her thoughts. I would like to point out that I think it's obvious that business as usual, it's failing us. There is a growing polarization. There is like environment emergency. And there is definitely some, I mean, I think there is a raising awareness that there is a need to redesign the economy as we see it. And social entrepreneurship, it's not a new concept. It's there already for 20 or 30 years or even more. And it's definitely a pioneer, I would say, for green and inclusive economy. And it's providing the direction how things can work, because what I usually mind in some discussion is that people usually see social enterprises as some small micro enterprises and so on. But I think that there are already on a global level, like businesses that have grown from these small local businesses to even international businesses and corporations that are founded as social enterprises. And those are showing that even these sort of initiatives can grow, can be international, sustainable, and have great impact, not only local where they started, but also to replicate and to grow to another country. So like I said, for me, it's like the main reason and the argument, that is the future of economy, if you ask me.
Great, yeah, thank you. And Anita, for you, why is social entrepreneurship important?
It is very important because for me, first of all, it's a way to improve the quality of life of people is in any community, local, global, regional, or something like that. Based on our data, there are social enterprises as concrete examples of social entrepreneurial initiatives in different areas. There are responding on key social needs in the society. So it is very interesting to look at in the field what is really contributing to the overcoming key social problems. And now we have pandemic also, but social enterprises are then, they are on the scene. They are those who are responding or the most critical needs in the society. For example, unemployment or employment, preserving jobs for persons with disabilities or some other marginalized persons. But we also have noticed one trend that is very attractive regarding the ecological and climate issues. It is recognized, but I think it will grow in the future. So there is a great potential. There is a great transformative capacity. And this is very good that is in the European Union and in the world, this concept is generally accepted and recognized. So we need more networking, more experiences, more good practices, and more innovation in this field to be to go further with this whole story. I think we are on the good way, but there is a lot of work for all of us in future period, and that is the challenge. But this is social entrepreneurship.
And when we are speaking about the challenges, so Dina, if is anything left to say about the topic on the importance of social entrepreneurship for you, for the coalition that you are representing, what are you saying to all your members?
Well, I must agree, of course, with the colleagues regarding the importance of social entrepreneurship. And I think that the most important thing is the way of different doing the business in a way, different approach to everything, different approach to development and so on. And historically, social enterprises, but all the initiatives from social economy sector in a way have responded on those challenges emerging in the environment, of course, locally. And I think we started a lot of learning during the 2008 crisis when social enterprises proved to be the safeguards for the people that they are engaged, either by employees or consumers and so on. So we started learning that some other way of doing business is doing more for the development. in a way. But challenges still emerge. I think we started with the definition as such, and I think that it shows how diverse the concept it is. It's the beauty of it in a way, but it also makes it hard to grasp in a way to see how to make more of social enterprise. And I think we now in a better position, even though the crisis is not that good, but it definitely now I think it's after 2008, if you didn't have a proof that that way of development is not working, now you're completely sure it's not working. And I think the global agendas that are now more aligned help to streamline this topic. It might help. It also is possible threats how big players are getting involved in this topic, but I think it makes it a bit easier to speak about this topic. I think it might be easier to promote it in a way, but I think huge challenge is in our region. We have really weak economies. And I think it makes it hard to say, okay, now economy as such, profit enterprises are having problems how to be social enterprise in that environment, for example. But I think also the environment as a region, our region, is very good to see if we are innovative in a way. Is this the place where we can have like flourishing of a sector? And I would just add that the challenge that we are trying to respond is of course, institutions. Our institutions, like I say, public institutions, are a huge obstacle in it's not about the law for this sector. It's about innovation of the work of the institutions. It's about the openness as such. And that's why I'm really stuck with Irina's saying that values within the processes at all the level are fundamental for having shifts at public level, at institutional and regulatory as such. And I think these enterprises are teaching us how to teach institutions. I'm saying from the perspective of the coalition, that you need to innovate at that level as well. So it's pioneering still, but I think it's really, for me, and Ivana knows we are together in this for years, more than a decade, that's something that makes you like, we want to move on. You want to try to push the boundaries, even though it seems like you're being stuck at the same level of acknowledgement of development, but you're not actually. And you can see small improvements, but the sector as such is really, it's amusing. It's really motivating, and that makes you, focus on doing your work that you find really good, and that's working with the institutions, doing the policy. Others are doing other things, and these are the tracks that you synergize in this process. So there are many obstacles, but I think the people in the sector are the ones that makes you like really motivated to keep on doing the job that you found that you can do the best at the moment.
Thank you. And Stefan, I think that Dina gave just a great introduction to the next question.
Yeah, I agree. One thing, maybe one of the most important things that the pandemic has taught us is that the traditional mindset of the institution has failed us, and many have were left behind by the institutions, by the social and economic systems, and so on and so forth. And we know that there are institutional gaps that social enterprises exploit and social entrepreneurs exploit to basically provide financial social services and health services, and of course make profit and then reinvest it. And but the thing is that we need to change the traditional mindset of the institutions, the new way of working, and of course, to make this sector thrive, we need an ecosystem for social entrepreneurship. So, although maybe it's a lottery, but I got the most broad questions in this webinar. So I would like to ask, like, what is the situation with the social entrepreneurship ecosystem in the countries? Like a short introduction. I know that it's a broad theme and it's a broad subject, but like a short intro in the country situation. Irina, can we start with you?
Sure. I have been there from the very beginning, from the first awarded British Embassy project to CIRA, and foundation where I used to work. So there have been many tries to establish a legal framework, to define social entrepreneurship, to support social enterprises. After so many years and many proposed drafts of this legal framework, we ended up with non-existing law. There is currently a new project in the country called EPTISA, Support to Social Enterprises. Me and you, Stefan, we both know it. We are both aware of the efforts of this and big ambitions of this project. What is new, the latest developments, is that now we have a draft version of the strategy for development of the ecosystem of social entrepreneurship. We have a lot of key stakeholders on board. We have some good examples of existing social enterprises. So there are some movements. What can I say that is something brand new, and my personal perspective is that somehow these longer, let's say, established social enterprises or wannabe social enterprises are there on the market trying to exist in this pandemic, but we also see some really small rudimentary ideas of young people that try to do something, that try to be innovative as much as possible in order to have their first market entry. So in terms of legal perspective, we expect to have adopted strategy that will provide not only definition and recognition of social enterprises and bring key stakeholders on the table, but we'll also have an action plan, which means that we have a commitment, hopefully we will have a commitment for more investment in the social enterprise sector on one hand. On the other hand, there are many projects that now recognize social entrepreneurship as a key area, and I'm super glad to see that there are many people trying to put innovative hats on their minds to think how they can respond to social problems. What you said, and it echoes in my head now, is this social services. I had this experience when I visited Poland. The team leader of EPTISA project, Ms. Barbara Sadowska, comes from this Barka Foundation. They did really amazing job in Poland, and they tried to share some of their experiences with the Macedonian, within the Macedonian context, is this collaboration between municipalities and NGOs in creating social enterprises and giving a relief to the state in provision of social services. So there are many ways how we can think about social entrepreneurship in its development. But for our country, I would say that now we have somehow a wider perspective on it. And there are much more people and institutions on board that try to put efforts as much as possible so we can try to keep the dynamic with the region and with the world.
Yeah, we have a lot of developments here, and well, for the first time, maybe we see a political will to do something about the field, social entrepreneurship. We'll see how that goes. Last year, we also had the institutionalization project and the decentralization process, which basically is what Irina was saying about collaboration between the local municipalities, local authorities, and the social enterprises. Okay, let's go to Anita. Anita, what can you tell us about the social entrepreneurship ecosystem in Bosnia and Herzegovina?
First of all, I want to say that we don't have official definition of social entrepreneurship or social enterprise, not in one level yet. There are some initiatives, but this process is very long, and I hope really that we will be contribute to further direction in this field. In recent years, social enterprises have attracted the interest of stakeholders in diverse sectors, including civil society organizations, policymakers, international organizations, private companies, and so on. There has been progress through several public documents which recognize social entrepreneurship. Those are public documents related to issues of employment, social inclusion, and reduction of poverty, for example, but we do not have specific strategies nor action plans in the field of social entrepreneurship. Besides the legal framework, I would like to emphasize some other main challenges in this field. For example, as I mentioned earlier, lack of visibility, very little information about social enterprises in media in general. We don't have favorable business environment in general, nor for social enterprises. We don't have permanent financial mechanism to support startups, social enterprises, or existing social enterprises development. Social enterprises have lack with information about, for example, market opportunities and so on. Marginalized persons and civil society organizations, although they have potential and interest, they are not empowered enough to implement social entrepreneurship. And so on and so on. We have many challenges. It's not only the law on social entrepreneurship, because if we have better business environment in general, I believe it would really contribute to the development and also within this sector. That would be for my. If you have any question, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you, Anita. I think that you covered, and I saw that Ivana was just nodding, and Dina as well. You covered basically most of the challenges of the ecosystems on the Balkan for social enterprises and social entrepreneurship, not just in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's just we see how similar and the ecosystems are, and what are the challenges and needs of social entrepreneurs and enterprises. Dina, can you tell us how's the ecosystem in Serbia, of course, despite these challenges that we already face everywhere?
Well, I truly share the same experience, and I think even I would agree. I mean, that in Serbia, I don't think that law on social entrepreneurship is substantial for promotion and for scaling up social enterprise for flourishing. I think it's really something that we spoke previously. It's about mindset in a way for opening up for innovation at all levels. So yeah, of course, we do not have any kind of formal recognition of social enterprises. So regulatory framework is not favorable, but it's not something that prohibits somebody for doing social entrepreneurship. We do have really big institutions to recognize all this diversity of the activities that might be social entrepreneurship as such. So for example, the public procurement system is not adopted, even though it might be useful for, and there is no any legal, or it's only implementational problem to do the public procurement that might develop social enterprise, or at least their businesses. So many of the things within the ecosystem are part of lack of systematic approach to it. So I would always say that some kind of strategic approach to mapping the problems and seeing what might be the solution at the level of national levels, let's say it like that, but it also has to have some kind of recognition at local level. But we also know that local municipalities, at least in Serbia, they are not that independent. So it's politicized. So it's really hard to say, let's have local municipalities that are innovative in supporting social enterprise. There are some of them, but it's really hard to say that it's their own responsibility. So I think that's one of the problems. And maybe I would say more, but I think also social enterprises have problem in feeling themselves as all social enterprises in a way that many businesses might be social enterprises, or some social enterprises are not social enterprises, and so on. So that also makes some kind of challenging in working on promotion of the sector. But I'd say, and I really I think it's really important thing that we do have some new funds for developing social enterprises. That's something that is really new at the market of Serbia. And I think the thing that Smart Collective does, it's really important thing that we will learn a lot from it. I think the process of European integration quite helped promotion of the sector. And I see that, for example, in Macedonia, there is a lot of programming of social entrepreneurship support. New Civil Society will have it as well. But I think it's something that is a real problem for Serbia, because we are stuck a bit in the process of European integrations. And it's problem for the supporting institutions to actually work the things that social enterprises should do their work. They should do on the field things that they do the best. But for supporting institutions, it's really a problem, this being stuck in the process of the European integration, because it was really important booster of financially, for exchanges and so
on. Thank you, Dina. I think that what you said is important, that financial instruments and support for social enterprises and entrepreneurs is very important as a motivation to get involved in business with social values that tackles and addresses social issues or societal issues as a more broader subject. Ivana, do you have something to add to this?
I'm not sure how much more time we have, but I think that the colleagues have covered basically everything. Maybe I would add a bit more about this financial access to finance topic, because there are a few issues there. Not only that the state doesn't have mechanisms to support social enterprises, but like already discussed, the general business environment is not favorable, not only for social enterprises, but in general for small enterprises here in Serbia and in region in general. And with social enterprises, it's kind of again specific, because donors do not recognize them for donations anymore, because they have, you know, revenues, they have profits, so they're not always attractive or eligible to apply for donations. And on the other hand, you have banks and financial institutions which are also do not recognizing them, because they are social enterprises or they're coming from civil sector, and they see their impact orientation more as a risk than a benefit. So we definitely have, they're in some kind of a gap where they're not attractive to anyone. And there is growing the number of these impact investment funds. The impact investing, it's like a new CSR of financial institutions and so on. But again, their ticket sizes are like 200,000 euros, which is too big for enterprises that are growing in this region, because they don't have access to finance to some smaller funds. And we need to build a number of mechanisms that are providing tailored access to finance to startups, to early growth stage, in order to prepare them to be eligible at some point for these big impact investment funds that are even now eligible here in the region. So this access to finance is, it's for me, it's important topic if we want to see this sector growing. Because according to some last research that we have done, around 70% of enterprises are staying much longer in this startup phase of development. They cannot scale up because they don't have access to finance, which will enable them to scale up. And we need those cases, those champions, to showcase that enterprises can grow their business and grow their impact. So that's why that is also important topic for us, and we are working also something on this. Dina mentioned it. We piloted a first impact investment fund in Serbia, which will be exactly like up to 50,000 euros, zero interest loan to social enterprises, because that is the ticket that we recognize it's missing in the market.
Thank you, Ivana. I agree that social enterprises are stuck in a gray area, and they do not know how to come out of it, because they do not have support. And if you're an upcoming social entrepreneur with a new social enterprise, you won't apply for a grant of 200,000 euros, but something smaller just to get you going. Irina?
Yeah, I just wanted to add about these EU-funded projects. It's really hard for startups and social enterprises that don't have big portfolio to provide this in-cash funding, co-financing. So there is plus and minus in this. It's great that we have donors that are providing money on one hand, but on the other hand, it's not that eligible for the smaller ones that just want to try out. One thing, and also donor sensitivity. We need to convince donors to be more open about support of social enterprises, to be able to invest in equipment, in something that really is necessary to start an enterprise, not only in provision of tailored workshops or soft skills. So, like, for example, I will not put the name of the donor, but we were requesting knives, to purchase knives for the young students to be able to have a career. They said, no, knife is a weapon. And we said, no, it's not. So long story short, donors also needs to be more sensitive to the needs of social enterprises.
More innovative in their approaches to solving social challenges. They also have to innovate.
Yeah, we see conservative mindsets on different sides of the story. So
on every level. Somehow this conversation just falls in our agenda. I don't know how, like we agreed on something. But Snezhana, I think that now it's your session about the EU project and everything, and we're talking about EU projects. Like, what's happening?
I think that they saw our agenda. So yeah, and I think now we have heard that what is the situation in the whole Western Balkan region. It is mainly the same, and we are facing mainly the same challenges and the problems. And this is probably why it's totally natural to cooperate and to make joint initiatives. Then, for example, I would like to mention that at the moment, the young ambassadors together with SDP Globus are doing one big Erasmus Plus project with our partners from ADPZ from Montenegro, in order to build a network of youngsters and to educate them about the social economy. So Anita, maybe we can start with you. How important is this regional cooperation, and how important is to make a joint initiative in the whole region?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm also very glad to have the opportunity to be part of, for CDP Globus, of the project, new project that is launched recently. I think that the possibilities for cooperation are large. And I think we need more networking, more discussions, and more concrete issues to talk about together. First of all, I think it is very important to emphasize the issue, for example, of concrete market opportunities, internationalization of social enterprises, or opportunities for strengthening their competencies to be competitive on the market, and so on and so on. We have the opportunity with one specific target group, but we as CDP Globus are working also with other, not only with young persons, but for young persons for which is the highest unemployment rate, for example, in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It is the very good step forward for them to get new opportunity, to be trained, to capacity build, for social economy and social entrepreneurship, and also for us and other organizations in our country and countries of the region included in the project, to gather together and to discuss the most essential issues. So I think there is a great opportunity, and we will certainly use it at the best as we can. I think this period of 2 years in front of us is a very good period that we can do very good stuff in this field. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And as we also know, Smart Collective and Arno are having also a joint project called Rise. So maybe we can now hear more from Ivana and Irina about this project. So Ivana, would you like to start and share your experience in this regional cooperation and in the project that you have with the organization from the whole Western Balkan region?
Yeah, Irina already started speaking about it, so I don't know if she would like to present it. Irina, would you like me to present it, or you would present it?
Go, I will just have other points to share
Okay, please add then if I forget to mention something. Well, it's a great regional project that started last year basically, and for now it's planned to have like 2 generations of young social entrepreneurs going through local incubation in 6 countries in the region, and then moving together to regional incubation programs. So at the moment we are entering this regional incubation program with first generation, and we have like 2 teams from each countries. So the countries are like I said, region: Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, Albania, and Macedonia. Did I forget? And Montenegro, sorry, I know I forgot someone. And in total, the plan is to work with 200 young people over the 2 years period and help them start social enterprises in their countries. And it's a great consortium gathering not only organizations like Arno and Smart Collective in these countries as local incubators, but also a strong consortium of international organizations that are supporting the process, like RAICO, like Group SEtalks from France, like Southeast Europe Youth Network, then Institute Francis, or what's the expression? So I think it's a great contribution to this building the regional ecosystem for startups, for social startups, and in particular for young people, because we always speak about that young people are innovative, entrepreneurial, that they have, there is this generation of millennials coming that are really eager to solve problems in the world. So we all believe that there is a new energy and strength in young people. So I'm particularly glad about this project. But I would also like to add another one, which is led by EVPA, which is European Venture Philanthropy Association Network, on this goal of improving the access to finance. There is this initiative of CEE Task Force, which is Central Eastern Europe Task Force, which is actually a network of organizations working exactly on attracting more of impact investors and social investors here in the region, because there is this very bad statistic that only around 3% of all social investments in Europe are coming to this region. So the task of this group is to help improve access to finance and attract more social investors to this region as emerging economy region. So yeah, we are working a lot also on promotion of the region and social enterprises, and that's why it's important for us also to have these champions, to build champions and to promote good examples, to showcase that we have great enterprises here also.
Thank you. Covered mostly everything. I will just add few personal reflections. First, it's a pity that the pandemic didn't allow us to have this real regional contact. So we do everything online. But what is interesting about these regional projects is that we all the local incubators provide the same program. And we advise young people to find local problems to solve them. And what we see at the end is that young people really have these common problems in all the countries. And there is a great tendency to refer to environmental problems more than the social problems. So this is a great room for discussion to see where these new generations are really evolving. Another interesting part of the program, and I really think that this has a great regional lesson learned, is that we involve people outside of the program, mentors and experts, to support the idea development of this wannabe social scientist. What is interesting is that we all recognize the potential of different programs.
We are losing you again.
Irena, your Wi-Fi is again.
Can you hear me? Should I continue or it's...
No, we cannot hear you well. Yeah, we are losing you.
Okay.
Okay, now. Okay, so Dina, yeah, we shall continue with you. How you see the collaboration in the region and possibilities for the cooperation and make a joint initiatives?
Well, I think regional cooperation is important because we at least can exchange the experience and see some commonalities. But I think also is important the fact that our countries are really small, and our markets are too small. So taking this market in all the ways as a joint market is fundamental. It also helps to advocate some global level, European level for the similar support. I think we do have these political issues that are a burden because we cannot have, we still have some heritage that is rather obstacle in cooperation, especially at institutional level. So if we talk about the institutions that were established to support regional cooperation, it turned out that they are not successful. Actually, you don't know what's the point of their existence. So I'm quite, that's something that I see as thing that needs to be like discussed about the institutions that should help and should support the regional level of cooperation as a market, as a sharing experiences and so on. Because so far it's really mostly the efforts of CSOs. Of course, there are businesses that cooperate at regional level, but I think the future is that we will have joint regional market at all levels, because I think it's not efficient to take Serbia or Bosnia or whichever country you choose as an independent in so many ways, because we're just too small in so many ways. And I think this, again, European integration process and different parts and different dynamics of it prove that some things will happen jointly or will not happen in a way. But I really think it's substantial that we do have part of the region, whatever you take it, you still have Croatia. You cannot say that it's not part of the region. So you can learn from that experience. I think all our countries have different pace in development, again, even though we are similar. So it really helps us to learn from each other. But since I'm the person always from the institutions, I'm political scientist. So I would always say, if you cannot institutionalize things, it's all in a way individual effort. That's why I think that if we build institutions, public institutions that can support all the regional efforts or national efforts, the effect of our work would be more impactful in a way.
Okay, thank you very much. And yeah, we have maybe a couple of more minutes. Yeah, Ivana, you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize, it's all about, exchange and joining resources. And I mean, that's the point of social entrepreneurship in general. And it's not really like just a saying, but I think that we already have quite established cooperation among stakeholders in the region, and we have already recognized the strength that we have when we join our resources and, go together to some international institutions and, act as a region. In some processes, it's much more impactful than if we go, as a separate countries. And I think that there is really a strength in this regional cooperation in different projects.
Yeah, definitely. This is a really great point. Yeah. And yeah, we received a question for all of you, so from our audience, so from Isabel Galvis, and she wants to know, do you have a map of social enterprises in your respective countries? What are the challenges of identifying this organization in your local context? So the question is for each speaker. So do someone want to start or?
Okay, I will start. Okay. We do have a map based on our experience through cooperation with numerous organizations and social enterprises in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but we cannot say that we have exact data because we don't have statistical evidence, for example, in this field, which is one of the main challenges. Unless we have a legal definition of social enterprise, we cannot have exact data. But we do have specific forms, for example, enterprises for the employment of persons with disabilities, in both entities of Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is regulated by a law on the professional rehabilitation and employment of persons with disabilities. We have cooperatives which have their activity based on laws on cooperatives, but we don't have social cooperative defined as such. But we have cooperatives which mainly are focused on their economic activities, but they are engaged in solving social problems. Concretely, CDP Globus is cooperating, and we have within Coalition United We Can More some good examples of women cooperatives in Bosnia and Herzegovina that are active in the field of social entrepreneurship. We have also some other ways of social entrepreneurial activity, but they are not characterized through laws like that, but we can recognize them through our work, through cooperation, through promotion, through our public invitations, because all our work is very transparent. Every meeting, every information is available on our networks and on our webpage, which is one of our contribution to the visibility of the field in general in the country, but we have also visits from other countries through our website or social networks where we are very active.
Thank you very much. So Ivana, would you like to answer this question?
Can I give it to Dina as she's the I mean, this is really like her field because she was doing like the last two mappings of social enterprises in Serbia. So, I mean, I could answer, but I think it's more like Dina's expertise.
Thanks, Ivana. Well, we don't have a map of social enterprises, of course, because we don't have a system for mapping social enterprise. Of course, you need to have a legal recognition in a way, so to have it in the statistical system of your country. But we do some researches, and we like to say that, of course, there was last research in 2012, so it's really obsolete. But we say that we have like around 500 social enterprises. I hope at some point that we will get new research that will show the actual size of the sector. I think it's not about the number of social enterprises, but about its structure, about the quality it brings, so about economic performance, social impact, governance, how they do it. I think it's the thing that we can learn more in actually developing further mechanism for support than having a real number of social enterprises. I can say that they perform in all possible legal forms that they can take, depending on the business, depending on their comfortability in doing business. But I think it would be really important to have opportunity to map social enterprises, but from the level of their more like impact than just regular measuring the number of social enterprises, because otherwise it will be really hard to design measures for support, and especially public budget funds. But for now, we are still without it. And challenges, I said what are the challenges? Yeah, without it, just not having like a system, it's really how many social enterprises that are by the nature do feel themselves as a social enterprise, how much we as a support organization reached out to get the people to be part of our networks or contacts to be sure that we really cover. But this is the challenge that is at all the levels. All the mapping in the Europe are just estimations, actually. I mean, we cannot say with the precise, only in the countries that you have the legal form, but the legal form is not saying that all the social enterprises that are registered as social enterprises are social enterprises. So it's really challenge at all the levels to say what's the map, what's the number, what's the impact of social enterprises in one country, region, or local context.
Yes, we understand that it is the hardest question yet to answer. And how is the situation in Macedonia, Irina?
Same goes for Macedonia. No official data, no official registry, no certification process. We have social enterprises that are self-determined and self-proclaimed, And this is all good, but for now, because of lack of operational definition, at least, we only see social enterprises defining themselves being social enterprises by reinvestment of profit. But we come back to this world problem that Dina just mentioned, is like source of income. Can you consider yourself being a social enterprise if more than 50% of your operations come from donor funding? So also internal governance, decision making, there are many perspectives, and this is the challenges that I agree it's not only regional, local, it is across the world. But and also the pandemic, people, we knew for social enterprises in our city, for example in Skopje, and you can get a food which will later on support provision of food to people in need, but they stopped working. So again, it is a challenge to map legal entities after the pandemic, during the pandemic, and hopefully after the pandemic once it's over. So nothing official. We have RISE regional study. Maybe that can help for the people that are interested to learn more about this regional context. There are some good practices. And what I wanted to come back, because my connection was interrupted, in speaking about the region, when we speak about good practices, I believe what we notice, what I personally noticed, is being more honest towards the concept and also exchanging bad practices. So what doesn't work? And I think this is one of the challenges that we should also put inside this frame of mapping and discussing social entrepreneurship. So pretty much it's same everywhere, so we can be more and more open to discuss this topic.
Thank you very much. And now I'm thinking it will be a really great topic for the webinar, what is not working and the bad practices. So yeah, I think that we are now maybe close to the end of our conversation. Ivana, yeah, you wanted to.
No, I just wanted to agree completely with this, because I think it's important, especially in this region where you are somehow not, you are not allowed to have a failure, you know, because you don't have many access to finance. Your family usually do not support you if you want to be an entrepreneur. So you don't have much chances, you know, not to succeed. I think it's very encouraging and very important also to speak about failures, and that it's okay to fail and to make mistake and try again, and to encourage people to try and try again, because there is already like statistic that 1 in 10 enterprises actually succeed, you know, so it's not that bad to fail. Everybody does it.
Yeah, of course, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, and maybe you can continue, because for the end we would like to hear from all of you short messages for young people, because our webinar are mainly for the young people. So if they're thinking at the moment to start their social enterprise, social business, how would you encourage them? Yeah, even
I should start first.
Yes.
Okay. I can imagine that now, after listening all this, you know, because we were speaking for the last 20 minutes, I guess, about what is not working here. Like they don't have access to finance, the legal environment is like hell, the institutional support, there is no institute. So, you know, if you would now just try to, you know, decide if you want to do this or not, everything is speaking against you. But they said that entrepreneurs are crazy. I like to say that social entrepreneurs are even more, you know, crazy, because they want to start an enterprise and solve some social problem. But I can say to all of them that, like, 10 or something years ago, when I met a guy from Social Enterprise UK from United Kingdom, you know, and they're like the cradle of social entrepreneurship. And I was like, well, you have everything, guys. We don't have anything. Like, how did you start? And so on. And they were like, well, we don't have a law on social entrepreneurship yet. You know, entrepreneurs, if they want to start and succeed, they will find a way. It's all about motivation. It's all about commitment. So if you really have a strong motivation and commitment to do something, you will find a way. And even if there are not, you know, all these great stuff like legal, state support, finance mechanisms and everything, I think there are in each of these countries organizations like us that are willing to support and provide support to young and social entrepreneurs. And there are more and more programs for young entrepreneurs. And this sort of mentorship is for me, more important, because money is there. You can find some money. That's not a problem. There, maybe not specifically for social enterprises, but there is some money and you can find it and start. You just need a strong motivation, good team and commitment. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ivana. And Anita, what would be your message for the young social entrepreneurs?
Or potential
Yeah.
social entrepreneurs. First of all, from my perspective, be persistent, because many challenges can discourage persons, and unfavorable environment sometimes can be demotivating. But we all have to be stronger than those challenges and to go further with our ideas. In this process, it is very important to work on yourselves. This means read the literature, read about good examples on portals, be included in webinars like this, talk with people. I wrote many emails. Sometimes I don't get answer. Sometimes I don't get the rejection for project proposal. It's all the process. Because of this process, we are sometimes stronger because we go further and go further. This is one of the key entrepreneurial characteristics. But don't quit so easy, and be persistent and be positive, because all of these organizations are creating a very beautiful programs that offer you some kind of opportunity for you, for your colleagues. You can jointly form your networks to initiate some new ideas, new projects. You can apply, you can go to education. You can do a lot of things, but don't quit. It is the most important message, I think, in this time, especially in terms of pandemic. So it is pandemic, but we have to be creative. We have to be persistent. We have to learn. We have to try to experiment, because this is the only way to exceed, as I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anita. Dina, what would be your message?
Well, I'd say, I mean, I'm working in civil society sector since I finished my studies. And yeah, we're all from the environment where everybody teaches you to work for somebody, actually. But I started learning even later that playing is really important aspect of my life, you know. And I think when you think out of box, you actually play and you can succeed in it. And I think the mistakes that you make are the things that actually you learn from. So I like this sector, as I started with this, and since I'm not social entrepreneur, I have the experience. But the thing that I enjoy in it is the playfulness of it. Actually, people, regardless of the issues that they do, they're free to experiment. And I think that that's something that really is important, again, for development of the society in a different way. So if you want to encourage your spirit that is free, I think you should try in this sector, because if you're young, I cannot understand and nor like make some kind of explanation why would you be under control and be in the places where you cannot express yourself. The things that I see in this sector is that people are more free in performing their skills and so on. There are risks in any sector working, but I think here you can really do things that you can enjoy and solve things for the people.
Yeah, the most important in the end. Yeah. And Irina, your message, what would it be?
My colleagues already shared very strong messages. I will just add for young people, again, coming back to this think global, act local, to feel the pain and to connect with the change they want to see in their immediate community. For example, education. If I go back to tell to my younger self, I would definitely I would be more vocal to decision makers about education. I would demand for better skills for me to learn during school, because what we learn in school is not relevant for the market. And I want to tell young people that they have the right to be vocal about this. So if they want to be entrepreneurs, they should have entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship education in schools, at university. So this is one big, let's say, message to young people, because in the times of pandemic, this was so visible that they need teachers with digital skills. They need some new content. They need to unlearn things, not to learn new things, but to unlearn old conservatives' way of thinking, because they're definitely not relevant for this current and the future of jobs. What also to connect to have a big long-term vision, not to think only from today for tomorrow, if this is possible. I don't know. When I was 15, the last night bus we had to go out and to come back to our neighborhood was around 11 o'clock. At that time, I didn't know that this was an issue of youth mobility. So later on, with the civil society sector, where I was raised, let's say, and where I grew up, I learned that I have a lot of rights to demand for. So I would ask young people to think of what they feel they need and to be much more stronger and vocal in demanding their rights, but also doing something, not just only complaining and being destructively addressing the needs, but also to contribute to making this radical collaboration with all stakeholders, so we can have a better world now, not only in the future.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, girls, for these really strong messages, and not just for the potential young entrepreneurs, but I think for all of us and for all the young people, how to fight for themselves and to make a better place for living.
Now we are getting to the end of the webinar. We should have ended like 20-25 minutes ago, but it was interesting. There were questions, and some with Ivana we answered some of them in writing. But now we have come to the end, and I'm very glad to be in this kind of company, and I hope that in the future we can or arrange some kind of a longer, maybe not a webinar, maybe a conference, a regional conference. That would be a great idea to do so. We have the idea for 2 or 3 years, and basically we are talking about also with the Swedish Institute and everybody else there with the universities. But it should have been last year, but because of the COVID, it cannot be done. However, I would like to thank you all for the accepting of the invitation. I hope that we can talk soon. And yeah, now I can see Bravo Irina, very inspirational from Lidia Yoreva. So yeah, have a great day. Thanks again, and talk soon and stay in touch.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.